Good.
But we'll hand it over to our lovely panelists, and we'll start with Laetitia, if that's okay.
Okay. Well, hi. I've had quite a few experiences with racism growing up in a mostly white community where in some cases I was the only colored person in a room and in a school. So I've experienced a lot of it, but I think the worst to date is when one day my mother, my younger brother, and I were getting off a train, and there was a man who was laid in the way of the door. He refused to move after we asked very politely. I think he was a bit under the influence, I should say. So he got angry quickly and started using slurs against me and my family. And started saying really rude things, told us to go back to our country. So I think that's the worst experience I've had so far. At the time, I was shocked and confused and scared because I didn't know what was going to happen, if he would do anything to us. So I kind of moved away and kind of crawled up into a little ball and didn't say anything, didn't respond. I kind of just tried to ignore it as best as I could. But if that had happened to me today or yesterday, I wouldn't suffer and kind of crawl into my own little hole, because no one should have to do that. You should stand up for yourself, but not in a way that's going to elevate the situation, like make the person more angry or get yourself in trouble. You should tell someone if there's anybody there, like an adult if you're younger. No matter how bad the racism is, you need to tell somebody, because you can't suffer in silence. You need to let other people know what's happened and they can possibly do something to deal with it. So that's what I think I would do if that had happened now. My advice to people of all ages is don't suffer in silence. You're not alone if you experience racism. So many people experience racism still today, where people are learning to accept everyone for who they are. Racism still exists and you're not alone. So you need to let other people know what's happening. If it's constant or just one time, you still need to let people know. And don't elevate the situation more. So that's my advice.
Oh, thank you for that. And by the way, guys, we're actively accepting questions for Laetitia right now. So please ask your questions in the question and answer, and I will ask any appropriate questions that are forwarded on to Laetitia. So Laetitia, if I could be so forward to ask you a couple of questions until some of those questions come in.
Sure.
How did it make you feel when someone made a judgment about you based on the color of your skin?
That's a very good question, thank you. When I moved to the town I'm living in now, when I was little and in primary school, I was the only person of color in the whole school. I think there was about 100 kids, no colored teachers, staff, or anything. So I was quite alone, and people tended to judge me and kind of single me out. I felt really lonely. So I thought that I had to try and fit in at first. I'd have to act like all the other kids. But then I realized that I'm unique and that you just need to show people that you're unique, and stand out for who you are, and kind of just say, well, I'm here and I can do anything that you can do.
Amazing. Another question has come in by Miriam, and she says, I think we may have semi-touched on it, but in case we haven't, I'll ask the question again, which is, how do you feel when people are mean to you because of your skin color?
Thank you for your question. In all honesty, I am slightly angry, like in my head, but I don't let that get outside of me, and I don't lash out or say something back that's going to elevate it. And basically, I just say, my skin is different, so is yours. There's so much diversity in this day and age, and you just need to love and accept everyone, no matter what color their skin is.
Amazing. Charlotte asks a question, which is from a student, which you are a student, right?
Yeah.
Are there any changes that you would like to see in schools? And I assume this is to better accommodate race and the things that you went through. And what, if so, what are they?
Well, thanks for the question. I think honestly the school should teach more Black history, so that people can learn that there are strong Black people that did exist and still exist now. So we can learn to accept everyone. And I feel that in PSHE lessons that we should learn about racial diversity, so you can kind of get it in your head from a young age, so when you go into the world by yourself, you don't have any prejudice or judgment towards people because of the color of their skin.
And the questions are coming in thick and fast, so I hope you don't mind.
It's fine.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of questions for everyone to go around as well, so don't worry. And if there aren't, I've got a bag in my hand. Charlotte says thank you for your question.
No problem.
Thank you for your answer, I guess. Kanayo has asked, and I hope that I've said that right. He said, they said, what would it mean for you to have seen a teacher who looked like you in your school?
Thank you. I feel like it would have been helpful at a young age to see someone that looks like me in a position of power in such a kind of biased in terms of racial community, and it would have helped me a lot. But that you don't need a teacher to be your role model, because you have your parents, your family, sometimes even your friends. But I feel like a teacher would have helped, but I am still here today and I'm confident in my skin. So it doesn't matter if you have a white teacher or a Black teacher, any kind of skin color, you can still learn to accept yourself for who you are.
Amazing. What a beautiful answer. Thank you. We'll take a couple of more. Next question that I will ask you is, has it had an impact? This is from Daniel, by the way. He said, does it make you feel different to everyone else because you had different rights, because you were bullied based on the color of your skin? Do you think that that's had a knock-on effect of who you are and how you now think as years have gone on?
Well, first of all, thanks. I feel that at the time when I was very young and impressionable, I felt kind of lesser and weak and even like smaller, because I felt so different and looked so different, and I was singled out by people. So at the time, I feel like I did feel different, but I came to love and accept myself. And you don't need to stand in to be accepted, because people are being themselves these days and they are still being very accepted now. It's happening a lot more. So yeah.
Awesome. And I guess one from Irium, which is, first of all, she says, well done for having the courage to speak about this. And I know there have been a lot more people that have congratulated everyone here who has taken the time up to speak about such a difficult topic. What could the teachers in your school have done to support you in the circumstances you were in? And do you think that they may have, and this is an addition from myself, is, do you think that they may have turned a blind eye to some of the things, or they weren't aware of some of the racism?
Thank you for your compliment and thank you for the questions. I feel like the teachers could have sat all the students down at that time and said that just because one person's skin color is different, you shouldn't judge them or single them out or bully them or say things to them, that the color of their skin doesn't make them a different person. We're all human, and that you should love and accept them for who they are, and not judge them at all in any way. So I think that would have helped. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I want to say thank you very much. That was an amazing segment. Thank you very much for taking the time out. I will